In the book The God Who Is There, Francis Schaeffer talks about a gulf or a chasm. Now, some might think he's talking about a gulf or chasm between God and man, or perhaps he's talking about a chasm between Eastern and Western thought. But what Francis Schaeffer is actually speaking of is a chasm between two ways of perceiving the world. Hi, I'm Chuck Livermore. And in this video series, I'm going to help you understand the lofty and sometimes obscure meaning behind the writings of Francis Schaeffer. Primarily, we're going to be looking at his seminal work from the book, The God Who Is There. Now, in this video, I'm going to describe the gulf that Schaeffer talks about as a river valley. The river that runs through the floor of the valley is what Schaeffer calls the line of despair. It's a meandering river and it bends around peoples and groups and sometimes around individuals. Schaeffer imagined the two sides of the river as a time when people shifted in their way of thinking. On the one side of the river lived people who understood the nature of truth one way, and the other is where people had a new way of thinking. Now, they lived in an age of modern thought, and Schaeffer was even so bold as to place dates on when this shift took place. But these are not to be realized as definite times of shift. They are simply approximate dates, as the shift happened very gradually. And the dates just give you a reference point so that you can look and understand what this shift in thinking was like in our culture. If you live on one side of the valley, you perceive truth as a set of facts. Truth is based in reality, the way things really are. You can judge truth because there's a clear distinction between what is true and what is not true. Schaeffer calls this antithesis. Most philosophers would call this the law of non-contradiction. It simply means that if you understand something to be true, the opposite is obviously false. The people who live on the opposite side of the valley don't see the world this way. They understand the world to be filled not with facts, but with opinions, perspectives, and preferences. You can perceive truth one way, and I can understand it another way. You can have your truth, but I have my own, and it's just as valid as yours. And reality? Well, we make up our own reality. Reality is whatever I believe it to be, according to them. Society has moved, but not all at once, just they've moved in shifts. The first group to move was the philosophers. They went from one side of the valley to the other. The philosophers were followed by a group of artists, painters and sculptors. Next, the musicians moved across the valley. And finally, the general public at large. They left the green meadows of the rational for the foggy world of their own futile thinking and shifted across the valley. Eventually, even the theologians made the trek across the river of despair. So the side of the valley where reality is based on facts, you could call this the land of absolute. In this land, we know what we know because we can observe it. It's pragmatic because our beliefs align with how we live. The land on the opposite side of the valley is the land of subjective truth. If I want something to be true, it's true to me. I can live any way I want to live because I make my own truth. You may think it's false or wrong, but who are you to judge my truth? As Christians, we must stay consistent and commit to following the logical, rational position of absolute truth and reject the worldly, humanist ideas of subjective truth. Martin Luther said it like this:
If I profess, with the loudest voice and clearest exposition, every portion of the truth of God except, precisely that little point which the world and the devil are at that moment attacking, I am not confessing Christ, however boldly I may be professing Christ. Where the battle rages, there the loyalty of the soldier is proved, and to be steady on all the battlefield besides, is mere flight and disgrace if he flinches at that point.
James, the brother of our Lord Jesus, tells us this:
Pure and undefiled religion before God and the Father is this, to keep oneself unspotted from the world. James 1:27 NKJV, edited for emphasis.
So we must stand against the culture. We can't be conformed to this world, but we must be transformed by the renewing of our minds. We must cast down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against God, and bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Jesus Christ. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like it by clicking the thumbs up button. And if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to discuss these issues, I'd love to do that with you. Just leave a comment and I'll reply. Thank you for watching, and may you always be ready to answer for the hope that you have in Jesus Christ.